Today on In the Wood Yard, we're going to do a follow-up video as to why I don't stack firewood anymore, and maybe you shouldn't either. Here we go. So a while back, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I did a video on why you shouldn't stack firewood, and it exploded. I just did it kind of to show people that I'm not going to stack anymore, and maybe some reasons why you don't need to stack anymore. And my gosh, whoo, controversy. It was unreal. Most of my videos, the first day they're released, get 15 to 25,000 views. That video just took off, and I think within a few days it had 250,000 views. It was just unreal, like 10 times as many. It's probably one of the fastest exploding videos that I've done as far as how much people are watching it. And comments, both sides. People that are professionals, people that sell a lot of firewood are like, yes, less touching is better. Don't stack your firewood. People that are homeowners that have their own personal are like, blasphemy. Why would you never stack firewood? It's so ugly, it's atrocious, it's gonna rot, it's terrible. Well, I'm gonna explain today a few details maybe that I left out, kind of show both sides of the issue, and you can decide what you wanna do. All I know is that less touching, more time to cut wood's what I want. Less stacking has been fantastic for me. No, I'm not saying I will never stack another piece of wood. If people pay me to stack wood at their house, in their garage, along their shed, in their rack that they have, I'll stack wood. And I may do it for demonstration purposes. I may even do it at my own house, along the wall where I've got a rack built for my own wood. But as far as volume work, it's not necessary. Now, let me back up. I grew up stacking wood because, number one, we wanted to have it look nice. We lived in a residential area. We had land, we had 100 some acres outside of town, but we heated with wood. And at our house, we were in a neighborhood, so we would stack our wood in the backyard. Nothing fancy, just basically to get it off the ground and to get it so it was more condensed so that it looked nice. We knew how much we had. It was neat and organized, off the ground, and then we would cover the top of it with tins. Kept it nice and dry all the time. And that worked great. When I was a kid, I don't remember how much wood we burned. It might have been 3, 4 full cords a year, something like that, to heat the house. We had a wood stove in the basement, and I remember we had to carry wood down all the time. That's what I remember. And then splitting that elm with wedges, oh, that was work. Anyway, so if you're doing wood for yourself, that's fine if you want to stack wood. That's great. Or if you're like my brother Ken, that sells a lot of wood, and a lot of his customers that buy from him come and pick up their own wood. What he does is he has blocks of certain amounts for certain people, all stacked so he knows how much he's got. He's got one particular customer that every year gets 7 full cords, or 20, 21 face cords, whatever it ends up being. So he stacks that block of wood, and that's that guy's wood. And he tells him, your wood is right here. Come get it anytime you want. And it works great for him. He knows how much he's got right there. He doesn't have to touch it. The guy comes, picks it up, takes it, and then he takes care of it. He does that for several people, or people that will stop in and say, hey, I need a full cord of wood. He says, here, take this roll. They take it. It works good for him. But because I'm producing large quantities, I don't want to have to touch it. I used to stack all my wood. I stacked for years a couple hundred cords of wood a year. I would stack. I had high school kids that would come stack. I had friends stack. Whoever I could get to help stack. It's a lot of work. And yeah, it looks nice. Now, the reason it looks nice is it's uniform and even and all figured out as far as what you've got. It's off the ground. It looks nice. You know the quantity. Those are all good things. But if you're doing volume like I am, and guys that do a lot more volume than me don't want to touch the wood. One producer in particular that I know is in Wisconsin. They produce 3 to 5 semi-loads every week that gets shipped, and it goes to distributors every week. They never touch their wood. It gets processed by one of their 5 processors, goes into giant cones that are 30, 35, 40 feet high, however high they are. Big, huge cones. It's on gravel. That's all they do is it goes into big cones. It gets scooped up 6 months after it's sitting there, dries for 6 months. It gets shipped. That's it. They never touch it with their hands. Skidder Kev is an example of this up in Canada. They sell a lot of firewood. They don't touch their wood. Either goes into big cones outside so that it can dry, or it goes into a big shed that they have. They got a big covered dome shed that they put all the wood in. It's got a, I think he's got a cement floor in it so they can scoop it up. So they don't touch their wood. So that's a good thing for them because they're doing mass quantities. Now, there is a certain point that if you're going to start selling wood, that you're going to start thinking of ways to make it less work because it is a lot of work. So for me, it's the time and the effort that it takes to stack the wood that I'm trying to reduce. The best way to reduce it is to find ways to touch the wood less, to spend less time with it. And stacking is probably the most labor-intensive, time-consuming thing that you can do when it comes to making firewood, I think. It's also probably one of my least favorite. The only nice thing about it is you get a little exercise. It looks nice when you get done. It's off the ground. You know how much you have. So I guess there's 3 reasons. Looks good, get a little exercise, and you know what you've got. So those are good reasons. If you're living in a residential area and you can't just have a big pile of wood, yes, I can see why you would stack your wood. It's probably gonna look nice. Some guys make fences with it. They make rows and it kind of looks neat. Go for it if that's what you want to do. But for me, I don't want to touch it as much, which is why I built my big cribs. Now in my cribs, for those of you that didn't see how I built them or why I built them or the construction of them, I built them with pallets on the bottom, and there's a pallet on each end and then on the ground. And then in the middle, there's another pallet that's above those pallets that hangs on each side of it. So there's open space all the way down the middle for the most part. So basically 2.5 pallets wide. And then I've got them so they're, I don't know, 20, 30 pallets long. And then I put pallets on the side. And it's basically just a giant bin. So it's off the ground. The wind can hit all the sides, the bottom, the top, the sunshine, whatever. It gets a lot of airflow. Now, some people are saying, oh, you have to stack wood so that it'll dry. No. Stacked wood is actually tighter together with less airspace than wood that's just in a pile. Because when you have wood just in a pile like I do in my bins off to the side over there, those piles take up 25% more space versus stacked wood. There's more fluff to it. There's more air spaces. The air actually flows through even better. And I was kind of surprised myself. I thought I might have some problems. Not one issue. No mold, nothing. They dried excellent. Absolutely excellent. So if you've got the space and you're okay with a little bit of piles of wood, they work great. They really do. I think the higher you can go, the better. Definitely off the ground. I did one bin that I have over there if you've watched my videos. I believe, let me look from here, I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 10 pallets across and about 8 pallets that way. So it's 8 by 10 pallets. Pallets on the ground, and it's got pallets all the way around. That pile is probably, I'd say a good 15 feet high, 14, 15 feet high, the pile. If you go back to the videos and look, it's the big pile that we've been working on. It's mixed hardwood. Last year we did that pile and I thought, oh, it might mold. We might have some issues, but I had to get it done. I just knew, oh, off the ground is good. It's out in the field, gets a lot of wind flow. I thought, oh, it should be okay. I was even surprised. It was fantastic. Dried beautifully, no mold. I did not cover it. The rain doesn't matter. That was one of the other things that came up in the issue of stacking versus not stacking. A lot of guys are saying, oh, you have to stack it because you have to cover your wood. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to. No, unless you're in an area that gets 4 feet of snow every year and you got to get at it, yeah, then maybe you want to cover it with some tin or aluminum on the top, or if you put some tarps down, and then you can clean that off and you can keep the snow off of it. But the peaks, not an issue. What we found has happened, and I talked to several big producers, when you have the big cones peaked, the water actually runs down the sides, off the pieces, from piece to piece, all the way through. If you dig into the piles right after a good 1 or 2 inch rainfall, the wood is not wet for more than maybe, I would say 2 feet. 2 feet into it, and every foot you go down, it's less and less wet. And you get down about 2 feet, which isn't that much, it's dry, even after a heavy rain. And a lot of people say, oh, you're just getting that wood wet again. Well, number one, whenever you get rain on your sidewalks after a big rainfall, when the sun comes out, how long does it take for that water to dry off of your sidewalks or your driveway? A couple hours. That's about it. The wood dries really fast. The other thing a lot of people don't realize is when wood is cut and split and dried, starting to dry, what happens is that the cells on the wood close, which is why if you take a piece of totally dry wood, throw it into a pond, it'll float, because all the cells are closed. Years ago they made boats out of wood. It floats because the cells are closed, and it takes a very long time for that water to absorb into the wood. Matter of fact, white oak, which is what they used to make ships from all the time, will not absorb any moisture at all. Other types of wood will. So the closed dead cells close up. They do not suck moisture back in. If you leave it on the ground for a very long time, yes, you're going to get some water waking up and you're going to get some moisture and some mold on it, which is why you put your wood on pallets. The other huge issue that everybody's like, oh, you can't leave your wood in big piles like that. How do you know how much wood you're giving your people? Because a full cord is 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet, 128 cubic feet. Yeah, I know that. I've stacked thousands of cords of wood in my 55 years of cutting and splitting and stacking wood. Started helping my dad when I was 7, and now I do a couple hundred a year. I've done a lot of wood. I have found, because I paid attention, and people pointed out to me that were in the know, people that knew more than me, which is a lot of people, that if you take that full cord of wood, throw it into your trailer, and you do that a couple hundred times, you start to realize it's the same amount of wood in the trailer every single time. So you know the level you need to be at for that full cord of wood. So there's really no reason to stack it, to know that oh, it's the same amount again. Oh, it's the same amount again. Oh, it's the same amount again. I know how much to put into this full cord. Now, if I'm off by a little bit, I throw in some extra wood. Who wins in that deal? Me. Because I don't have to stack the wood. I save a lot of time. The customer. They get extra wood. I'd rather give away a few extra sticks of wood for free, make the customer happy, win for me, win for them. That's a good thing. So think about that for those of you that think you have to stack your wood. You don't. Another thing that comes up all the time is that I have different vehicles that I use for delivering wood. I use my pickup truck. It's got a 2-foot deep box, 6.5 feet long, 5 feet wide. When I throw in a face cord or a third of a cord, which is the same thing, 16-inch pieces, it fills it level. So when I do that, I know I've got a face cord or a third of a cord, which is what a lot of my people buy. So I just throw a little extra in. Again, win-win. When I deliver in my little baby dump trailer I just got, I fill it completely full. That is 2/3 of a cord or 2 face cords. Don't have to measure it, don't have to stack it. When I deliver in my bigger trailer, my N&M dump trailer, I fill it so that it's at the top of the first board, bottom of the second board, level. It's a full cord, or 3 face cords if you like to say it that way, or 3 ricks, or 3 ranks, or 3 rows, whatever you call it in your part of the country, your part of the world. That's what works. So again, I throw a little bit extra in. Win-win, everybody's happy. Somebody wants 4 face cords, or a full cord and 1/3. I fill it full, full, and I deliver it. Without ever having to measure it, without ever having to stack it. I might be a crazy person, but to me that makes a lot of sense. The guys, like I said, that are full-time professionals, that's all they do is sell firewood, don't stack firewood. But if you're a homeowner, if you're cutting for yourself and you want it to look nice and neat and you want to know how much you have and you want it to be alongside your garage or in your woods and along the edge of the field, wherever you're putting it, and you want it stacked off the ground all nice and neat and organized, go for it. It's good exercise. It's fun. It looks good. I've done a lot of it, but I think I'm kind of done with it, unless I have to and I'm getting paid for it. Another issue for people like me or guys that produce a lot of firewood to sell or guys that do it for a living, if you spend a lot of time stacking, that takes away from production of making more firewood. More time cutting and processing, splitting wood makes more money. Stacking doesn't make the money. Just saying. That's all I got for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow I'll be back with the new video for you. 5:30 a.m. Right now, go watch all the other videos. There's 1,300 on the channel. Good night, everybody.